great to see you all the way over here in New Zealand. Fordham University's head coach for the women's team. Can you tell us why you're here?
Some good players. I mean, I go way back with my Kiwis. The first ever New Zealand player to play in the WNBA played for me. That would be Megan Compain. And I've had some since behind, Lana, Kershaw, and then we had Chevannah Paalvast and obviously Erin Rooney. So I've had my share of some very, very good Kiwis. So we're working on trying to bring some more over.
Fantastic. And Stephanie, tell us a bit about what New Zealand girls, New Zealand players should be looking at should they want to go over to the States and attract a scholarship and play college ball.
I think social media helps a lot. I mean, a lot of it is, I know from talking to some of my friends that coach over here, my former players, that they have some programs now that are educating the kids a little bit more. We have a young lady from New Zealand on our team right now, Mary Golden, who we found out just, for word of mouth, just getting to know the coaches over here and developing relationships. It's all about relationships. Like when I came over for Erin Rooney, I think the reason Erin came to the East as opposed to the West is because I made the trip. And I think her parents felt comfortable knowing that if we were going to do that, then we'd take good care of her. So I think with the new exposure with the social media, I think the kids can get, more acquainted and more aware of all the different levels we offer.
What are colleges looking for in a scholarship player, especially a Division I scholarship player?
Everybody's different. I mean, I've been in the game a long time. I'm going to my 31st year as a head coach. So for what I look for might be different from somebody else looks for. I want the total student athlete. I want somebody that takes their academics seriously. Because typically a kid that goes hard in the classroom is going to go hard for you on the court. I mean, I look back at the ones that I've had, and they've been pretty much true to that form. So for me, I want kids that are well-balanced. I find a lot of times, especially I see it with Erin and a couple kids I talk to that are, from New Zealand, they're very much perfectionists. So, I try to tell them they can't hang on so tight. It's just, do the best you can possibly do. And I think the opportunity, I know from talking to Mr. and Mrs. Compain today, they said if Megan hadn't gone over there, she wouldn't be working for the All Blacks now. I think it helped her grow into the young woman she is now.
Is there a particular stereotype or image or a way that New Zealand players are generally perceived over in the States?
I don't think it's necessarily a New Zealand thing, Australia thing, Spanish thing. I think sometimes, people, the stereotype is kids from international are soft. I don't necessarily think that's true, because I've had over 25 international players. I feel they come over better prepared because, their drinking age over in their homes are 18, whereas ours is 21. So these kids don't come over and want to party. They want to come over, they're serious. They're serious about getting their degree. They're serious about getting better. A lot of them obviously want to grow in the national program or potentially play, professionally. So, they come in very focused.
For young Kiwis that are going over there, both, boys and girls, what sort of, is there a certain particular piece of advice that you would give them starting out? Is there a certain ethos that they should consider or a certain way of thinking or a way they carry themselves? Is, some sort of advice that would be helpful for them to sort of know what they're going to encounter and how they should overcome some of those challenges?
It's funny, and more from the girls than the boys' end, because I have 3 boys, and I think girls and boys have different, kind of things they're looking for when they're looking in a school. But it starts before you go over. I really think one thing you need to look for is, do I have a good relationship with that coach? Because you're away from home, so that they have got to be your second family. So you've got to feel confident this is somebody, like with Erin. I mean, she was almost crying every day for the first year. Like it's a hard journey, and if somebody hasn't had the experience of having an international player, and you go somewhere and you're the first international player, you're going to hit that wall. And then, unfortunately, it's going to be a difficult experience. So my first piece of advice is trust in the people you're going with. Like, make sure there's somebody that's genuinely going to care about you as if you're their child. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy times. It's going to be tough times, too. That's part of family. But I think it starts before you even get over there.
Can you explain for us the differences between junior college, Division 1, 2, 3, how that works and the different levels and maybe even the conferences? Because I know a lot of us over here haven't quite got our heads around that.
It's interesting because a lot of the kids, whether it be from Australia, New Zealand, or the best player I've ever coached has been from Fiji. So they typically think West Coast because it's, the closest flight. But really, being from the East, the West Coast is kind of like the forgotten child, because of the time zone difference. So to me, the real basketball, not real basketball, because, obviously there's awesome teams in the West Coast that are, terrific. But I think they get lost, and that's unfortunate because, like, if the UCLAs or the USCs or the Stanfords are in the East, they're going to get a whole lot more of attention. When I came over here 8 years ago, I met with some of the teams to discuss the different, the different separations. Like for us, junior college, like for me as a parent, that wouldn't be definitely the route I would send my child if they had other options. Sometimes you don't have other options. If that's your only option to go that 2-year and get another look and finish at a 4-year, then of course, then you're going to take that option. But if everything being equal, my first choice would go to a 4-year college for some consistency and continuity. And then, it's interesting because junior college, you can have a scholarship. There's also what you call NEIA, which is under junior college, which is you can also have a scholarship, but the level of basketball is limited. Then after junior college, you have Division III, which there's no scholarships. Then you have Division II, which have scholarships, but it's not. Division II and Division I don't even come close to each other in the United States. Then you go to Division I, and as you mentioned, there's a ton of different conferences. For example, we're in the one of the top 10 in the country. We're number 7 best conference in the country. The Pac-12, it was number 1 for women. But we are right behind all the Power 5 conferences that offer the big-time football. So, like, our budget is the best in our conference. Like, we'll take our own plane to go to games, So, they spare no expense. So I'm fortunate to work with somebody that's very serious about their women's basketball, being solid, but also keeping it real with the academics being number 1 as well. So you need to be educated, you need to get online, you need to look at the schools, you need to ask questions, you need to try to make use of the coaches in this country that are helping kids because, I think, there's power in being knowledgeable.
One of the things, I was talking to a father of one of the kids that are over there recently, and he said one of the surprising things they found is that the universities and the sport is very much a business as well. In addition to the academics, and kids have to be very driven in both aspects. If they're not making it in either department, they potentially might not make it through. Can you give us a bit of an idea? What do you think about that? Would you agree that it is a business and kids have to be aware it's almost like being a professional athlete playing for some of these?
It's a very fair statement. Because, when you think about it, when we break down our scholarship, it's almost a $90,000 commitment each year between, all the, now we have a new rule. Not all conferences offer this. This is another thing that kids have to ask. We have a cost of attendance where in our conference, you can get close to $3,000 of spending money outside of your scholarship, but not all conferences offer that. And of course, they're not going to tell you about it if they don't offer it. And so these are questions you have to ask. But when you come over, like for my kids, it is part of like a job. Like you have to be respectful. You have to understand that when you show up, you have to be all in. It's like, if you can't do it here, you're not going to do it in a job. I'm preparing you for life after basketball. We've invested close to $100,000 in you. So we expect you every day to bring it. And if you don't, in the ages of 18 to 22, only 3% of young ladies in that age group are on Division I scholarships. So in the men's side, it's 1.5 because we offer 15 full scholarships. Men offer 13 in Division I. So the percentages are so slim, you're very much part of a minority. So you have to attack it a lot of times as a business.
Your coaching career is pretty amazing. You've done really well as head coach in college ball and also at an international level. I see that you're part of the US women's team a few years ago. Is there any particular kind of highlights or memories that you look back on fondly and think that's why I coach and that's why I love coaching?
It's funny just going out to lunch with Erin and her Uncle Peter and then being with the Compains and sitting, there talking to them. We talked about different times in their life that they grew in certain situations. To be honest, I've been asked that question of like, when you take over a program, you've been able to win, and what is it? And it's, is it a certain defense? Is it a special offense? I said, it really has nothing to do with anything on the court. It's how you treat people. And so my favorite part is actually the relationships, coming back and seeing the Compains, coming back and seeing Erin, her uncle. They're in my life forever. It's not a 4-year commitment. It's a life commitment. And I like, maybe because I'm a family of 8, maybe because I'm a mother of 3, but to me, it's having that balance and developing them into the young women that their parents hoped they would be.
It's great to see you over here. I know there's some great New Zealand players that have gone through Fordham, and all of them have spoken very fondly about yourself, but also the college, and we certainly appreciate you being over here, and we thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy yourself here, and all the best for the season ahead for when you return.
Thanks. We have another Kiwi in New York with Sean Mark, so we're excited for him, what he's going to bring to Brooklyn. You know, he worked with my son in San Antonio, so I got another Kiwi that can, you know, kind of give me some help in that area as well.
Oh, that's great. We're all very proud of him. So
He should be. He's a great guy. My son loved him. So, I mean, he's a super guy. I think he's going to turn around the Nets. I really do.
just actually before you go, something on Sean. You know, he's a bit of a hero here. But can you explain how big of an achievement it is? You know, with his new position and what he's done to get there.
I mean, there's so few opportunities to be a GM. I mean, because you have obviously limitations on number of teams in the NBA, and the fact that Sean was that well thought of to, you know, by the owner, the Russian owner, to come in and kind of run that program speaks volumes. And ironically, the young man that he named as his coach was the starting point guard when I was my first head coaching job at the University of Richmond. So there's a lot of irony involved with everything going on there, but the thing I loved about Sean is getting to know him in the short little window I did through my son working with him was just, again, a people person. You know, he's about doing things the right way. He's about how you treat people. And to me, that's our key to success. It's not, it is a business, but you can treat people the right way. And treat others how you want to be treated. And I think that's why Sean, will be very, very successful.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Stephanie.
You're welcome.